Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Emmy the Cat Lady, and you join me back here in Point Lookout. So we're right at the Pilgrim's Landing boardwalk. So kind of a follow-up to last week's video where we talked about the Turtle Dove detention camp in the north, which was a camp where Chinese Americans were taken, or Chinese suspected spies were taken and held, and horrible things were done to them. So that place is involved in a side quest called the Velvet Curtain. So I thought we could run through the whole of that quest and talk about some of the locations, because there's some interesting things that we can find along the way. So you basically take on the assignment of a Chinese double agent, Agent Jiang, and you have to seek out the dead drops, track the information that's needed to destroy a Chinese submarine. At this point, destroying the sub itself has zero consequences, since the nuclear war kind of put an end to the Sino-American War and any other world wars that were probably going on at the time. So why would you want to do this? Well, the loot. Obviously, this quest does reward you with a massive amount of ammo, a unique weapon, and some other fun things. So why wouldn't you want to get involved with that? So you can get an awful lot of good stuff there, and given that, the enemies in Point Lookout are quite tough and quite tanky compared to, even the kind of raider types that you find here are a lot tougher than the ones back home in DC. So you might want to make sure that you stocked up on plenty of ammo and stuff. So we're going to start at the beginning, so you can pick up this quest in a few days. I already have, because I read the alert on the terminal in the admin building at Turtle Dove Detention Camp, but you can also find the terminal in the motel room, or you can find the key and unlock the locker. So we're going to start in the motel room. So this is the Homestead Motel. Yeah, the Homestead Motel. So little kind of motel just off the boardwalk and everything. Obviously people would have come here on holiday. We have a doggo here, which is vicious, but not to me, because I have animal friend. And we're looking for room 1D. So there are a couple of the ones that have got lit lanterns and are boarded up are rooms that you can go into, but this is one that we want for today. So this is room 1D, which is Dr. Jiang's room, and this is probably Dr. Jiang right here. They never succeeded in their mission. They have died, although the pistol is set nicely on the side table there, so presumably it wasn't self-deletion. Who knows really. But we've got a couple of things here. So we've got a stealth boy, which makes sense. You often do find stealth boys in places where Chinese spies have been, because that's something that they like to make use of. And you also have the safe house terminal, so we're going to look at this first. So, welcome to USA, Dr. Jiang. I apologise that I cannot receive you in person, Agent Jiang. Our Norfolk contact confirms your arrival. How eager the Americans are to believe that a great mind of the people would defect. Our countrymen will herald you as a hero when your work is done. To that end, let us turn to the details of your mission. This room will be your safe house in Point Lookout. Focus initially on playing the American lapdog. Do not arouse suspicion. When it is safe, use the key that you were given in Norfolk to open one of the public rental lockers on the boardwalk near the motel. You'll be provided with the password you need to access your mission dossier, and then there's a little bit of Mandarin there, which I am not going to make an attempt to pronounce. However, it is translated as a kind of good luck wish. However, the wiki does say that the tones are incorrect. But I don't speak or read Mandarin, so I can't really comment on the accuracy of that. But the intention certainly seems to be that this is a good luck kind of statement at the end there. So there we go. So we've got a note of the tape, and if we look at this luggage case, there's a locker key as well as some pre-war money and pre-war business wear. So Agent Jiang here was posing as a defector, basically, from the Chinese that wanted to spy for the US instead, but they were obviously a double agent. So that's great. So now we have this key. So if we head outside again and back towards the boardwalk, the quest marker does kind of lead you generally in the right direction. What's that? Fountain sodas and shakes. That sounds nice. And coffee shop. Yeah, it'd have been a fun little place to visit this actually, you know, in its heyday. Anyway, gonna make our way over. Not always trusting the map markers, the quest markers and stuff on this. For some reason, when I've been playing, if I've set a custom marker, it's kind of led me astray and doesn't actually match up on the compass to what's actually on the map, which is interesting. So we need to find, there we go, the locker that we can use the key on. And we have box 1207 Spy's audio password. So this is for the bank, which we passed by. So we're going to head back to where the bank is. Yep, there we go. So at the Point Lookout Bank, they have the safety deposit boxes, which is a thing that banks have, you know, for not just about keeping your money safe. It's about, you know, storing valuables and things in these lock boxes is a thing that happens. And it's quite a typical thing for like spy movies and stuff as well, is that people have to get into safety deposit boxes in banks. But oh, actually, yeah, here we go. Here's a poster. Wan Yang, suspected communist and Chinese sympathiser, has been reported maybe operating under an alias or using a disguise, so you need to report to the US Naval Office. So we'll keep that in mind for later. And we head into the bank here. There's a couple of rad roaches, which I don't think we need to use the big Gatling laser to deal with. I think we can... Those legs are still dancing. It's so funny when that happens. But yeah, here we are in the bank. That's collapsed. Now, there is something that I wanted to find before we go into where the safety deposit boxes are. Loan officer's desk, yep. So we've got another password. So before I came here, I picked up a third password for this, which is this one here, box 1213. That is found at the Grower's Shack, which is over here. So it's a place that you might pass by on your way to the Sacred Bog. You can find that note inside there in the little shack. So that's us got the 3 passwords for these. So these are audio passwords, which means that there's voice recognition software and it has to be activated. So we can open 3 of these boxes. Most of them are already wide open. There's also a lot of wine in there, presumably very expensive wine, who knows. Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to play the passwords in front of the speaker here. So we're going to start with the one that we found here, which is box 1191. Yeah. Interestingly, it manages to open the door without actually hearing the password. But if we look in there, we've got some buff out and some pre-war money. So nothing too exciting, but it's cool that it's there. And then we'll have a listen to... we're going to do box 1213. Yeah, Buttercup. Thanks. So if we look in here, I think we've got some pre-war money and sexy sleepwear. So that's great. Yeah, so a couple of random things. I say it's not massively exciting loot in this one, but it is kind of fun that, you know, you have a couple of other boxes that you can open. But obviously the one that we're really here for is this one. Yep. So as it's not just that you have the right password, but it has to be the right person's voice that's registered in order to open. Oh, there's only one leg still dancing. So that opens this box here, where again we've got a pile of pre-war money, but we also have the espionage debriefing, which is what's going to tell us what we do next. So we'll have a look at that.
Agent Zhang, as you know, an important Chinese surveillance vessel was lost in American waters. Your mission is to destroy derelict submarine SSN-37-1A before the Americans can recover and analyze it. The recovery location is included in this dossier, and your cover ensures that the Americans will allow you access to their recovery operation. However, you will need an authorization code to trigger the self-destruct sequence. One of our field operatives in your area, Agent Yang, has these codes hidden in a dental capsule, but her current whereabouts are unknown. Locate and rendezvous with Agent Yang, then destroy the submarine. Report to your safe house for extraction information when the mission is complete. The will of the people protect you, Agent Yang.
Brilliant. Really hard not to get distracted by that Rat Roach legs fantastic tap dancing performance, but there we go. So now we have our mission. We have to destroy this submarine that has been beached essentially, and we need to find Agent Yang in order to destroy the submarine, because Agent Yang has a dental capsule, so it's like a false molar that basically hides the information. So now, do we even have... Oh, we do have a quest marker. That might be because we know... we know that Agent Yang is up there already. But there is another place that we're supposed to go to. So, yep, this is the Naval Recruiting Centre. So we've got our fun propaganda posters, wartime. We're going to win against, you know, the usual. So we can head inside here. There's also some rad roaches, which is fun. And a little waiting room. You've got a double barrel shotgun. Didn't really help you in any capacity, but never mind. Here we go. This is the DIA officer's terminal. So I think the DIA is the Defence Intelligence Agency, so probably something along the same lines as the CIA, possibly. But if you haven't been to Turtle Dove Detention Camp and you're doing this quest, then come in here. You can find this field report. Yang capture transfer, and that tells you where Agent Yang was taken. So they captured and arrested Yang, and they have sent her to the detention camp for interrogation. So that's where we need to go next. So we kind of know that now. We knew that before because this character had been to the detention camp, but if you hadn't, then that's how you would find out where Agent Yang ended up. I'm sure I killed all the ghouls, but I wonder if the robots have decided to spawn since that, because maybe they don't spawn until you're doing the quest. I'm not sure. That's interesting. I didn't realise that. So yeah, because I was like, yeah, there's robots here as well as like all the ghouls. There's usually robots here. Yeah, this stuff wasn't here before, so either failed to spawn or it doesn't spawn until you're doing the quest. Interesting. Good to know. Anyway, now that we've cleaned the place up again, we're going to head into the morgue, which is always a lovely place to be. And we go into these cold lockers or cold drawers, cold storage, whatever term you want to use. Remains locker. So it's where dead people are kept until they're to be you know, buried or cremated or whatever. So we found Agent Yang's skeleton, and there's a false molar with the microfilm that has the self-destruct codes for the Chinese submarine, so we're going to take them. Okay, goodbye Agent Yang. We're just going to leave you out now. Okay. So now that that's done, we have what we need, so it's time to go for a swim. So the game does show up because we did get kind of location for the submarine. Calvert Mansion is probably the closest. It's just to the south. So we're going to head this way. and find ourselves a submarine. So yeah, we're kind of down to the south of the mansion and to the west of the lighthouse, which is over there. And I think there's a couple of boats above where the submarine is, but you'll see it once you get under the water. It's not too difficult to find. Got a little private pier here with some mirelurks. So yeah, that boat there, I'm pretty sure, is above roughly where the submarine is. It's not as easy to see under the water. There it is. We found it. I have no idea how this actually works, that you can get in through the hatch without completely flooding the inside of the sub. It's already partially flooded and it's underwater. So actually, in terms of the laws of physics, you shouldn't be able to open that door because the pressure needs to be equalised. Same as if you somehow end up with your car in water. If you can't open your door by the time you realise what's happening, then the best thing you can do actually is to stay calm and wait until the car is filled with water, and then the pressure equalises and then you can open the door. It's something that the Mythbusters proved, which is an interesting thing because obviously if you end up in the water like that in your car, you're going to panic. You can get devices to break your windows right enough, but if that was ever a situation, is staying calm so that you're not using up all your oxygen and just waiting for the car to fill, and then you can open the door and you can escape. But don't forget to check this foot locker here that's locked. If you want some stuff, there's power fist and whatnot in here, power helmet. Might be a little bit of loot that you want, but make sure you take it if you want it before we proceed with the next part of this. So this is the sub. It's already kind of in trouble, and we saw last week that they were interviewing one of the submariners from it, or interrogating one of the submariners from it. So obviously the sub got beached and then they managed to kidnap the submariners that were on it, and that's why the Chinese want it destroyed, because they don't want the Americans to get their hands on it. All water under the bridge now, so to speak. But anyway, so we've got this terminal here, and there's a statement on here which we will get to. So mission parameters, patrol hostile waters, variations are tolerated as required by evasive circumstances. Crew is under strict instruction not to engage enemy if detected. Self-destruct protocol must be initiated. In the event of imminent capture, status updates are required at 6-hour intervals by one-way burstcom on orbital frequency. So they weren't supposed to defend themselves, and if they were going to be captured, they were supposed to initiate the self-destruct. Maybe they tried and didn't manage to do it in time. And then we saw at the detention camp, one of the submariners activated and used a cyanide pill that was hidden in a false tooth. But the other one that was interrogated tried to do that, but his cyanide pill didn't work, so he sadly had to suffer the interrogation. And the note here, again, it's in Mandarin, so I'm not even going to make any attempt to pronounce it. But it kind of translates as, there's nothing impossible in the world if you put your heart into it. So kind of another way of saying, if there's a will, there's a way. So that's nice. But we need this terminal to start the self-destruct process. So it's been initiated. It says you have less than 1 minute to evacuate. That's not quite true. The game isn't cruel enough to give you a time limit while you're inside the sub. The time limit only starts after you leave, so you want to activate this switch to confirm the protocol. Once you load out into the open water again, you've got 10 seconds to get away. So you need to just get as far away as you can before it explodes. I'm hoping that we can. There we go. Right, so we have done our job, so that's fantastic. So yeah, it's quite a cool explosion if you get to see it, but you do have to make sure you do get to minimum safe distance, because you do if you get caught in the blast there, then you are going to end up dead. So something to bear in mind. But yep, so we've destroyed the sub. And now that we've done that, we need to go back to the motel room, because the satellites that China had in the atmosphere have automatically sent new orders for Agent Zhang now that the mission has been completed. So am I far enough away from enemies to fast travel back to the motel? Yeah. Perfect. So we're gonna go back into... This one was 1D, wasn't it? Yep. Here we go. So back to here, and we have another look at this terminal. We've got the picture of Yang there. Not that that helps when they're a skeleton, but yeah. Extraction details. Automated correspondence of Chinese Intelligence Ministry. Remote positive of mission parameter satisfactory. Intelligence verifies SSN 371A termination. Following from intelligence. If you're receiving this message, then our satellites have registered the destruction of your objective. Well done. Please report to my personal bunker, hidden among the grounds of Calvert Mansion. Coordinates have been provided with this transmission. The bunker entrance is hidden, of course. Your pair of cryptochromatic spectacles have been hidden in the water tank of the toilet in your safe house. Retrieve them if you haven't already. Here is the sequence code to unlock the bunker. 1323442. Once inside... The passphrase is Seraphim Descending. I look forward to congratulating you personally. So that's great. So we do have the code here, which you need to either write down or, remember. And the passphrase Seraphim Descending. So now that we have that, we go to the toilet, and there we go, cryptochromatic spectacles. So we do need to be wearing them when we get there. So now that that's done, because we're taking spectacles out of the toilet and putting them on our face, that's lovely. Is what it is here. So back to the Calvert Mansion we go, and we're not going into the mansion and dealing with Desmond or anything like that. He can just wait. But we're going to this, the wiki list, this is an aviary, but I don't know if it is or if it's supposed to be like a greenhouse. Aviaries are usually where you keep like ornamental birds, but it looks like broken glass, so hard to say. But some days have also set up a TV out here, which is interesting, so maybe it's more like a conservatory, I don't know. Anyway, this building here is where we want to be. We can see there's these vases on pedestals, so if we put on these fancy new glasses, suddenly some markings appear. So there's 4 vases with lines corresponding to the numbers 1 through 4. So not overly complicated, but obviously you can only see it with the right glasses. So we need to enter the code. So it's 1 3 2 3 4 4 2. There we go, and that opens up this intelligence bunker. So let's head inside, and we come into this place here. So we should be seeing a robot friend just directly. Yep, there he is. So yeah, it's obviously been set up to live here. You've got freezers, you've got bunk beds, workbench. Hello, are you going to speak to me?
This is a hazardous area. For your own safety, please vacate the premises.
So you can give him you can say step aside, Tin Man. He won't actually attack or anything. He's quite friendly unless you attack him. But we can give him the passphrase Seraphim Descending.
Clearance acknowledged. Follow me for your extraction. Debriefing, comrade.
Yeah, so this is a communist protectron, so that's great. So he's like, come this way, but you can just ignore him after you give him the passphrase. It's an interesting choice of passphrase actually as well, that's worth noting. Seraphim Descending kind of translates really as fallen angel. So I wonder why that would be the passphrase. It's a very interesting choice, but there's loads of stuff here, loads of stuff. So you've got Chinese pistols, which probably won't bother with, Chinese assault rifles, which are worth bothering with, and I mean, all the ammo you could possibly want in life. So there's an absolute metric crap ton of ammo in this place. So they were well prepared for anything, whoever's bunker this belonged, whoever the bunker belonged to. Yeah, so yeah. I think there is pretty much every ammo type in here. There are mini nukes on the shelf as well, so pretty much every ammo type you could ever possibly want is here. And then we go through to where the Tin Man went. We open this door. Here we go. And again, there's the unique weapon that you probably want to come here for is this one here, the backwater rifle. So it's a lever action rifle, and it's one of the unique versions of the lever action rifle, and it has a 5 times critical hit multiplier. So, you know, pretty good one. Especially if you've got a high luck build, and there's just so much stuff to collect, so make sure you grab everything that you want. There's also even more stuff over here. And then when you're ready, is that a Chinese officer sword? Yeah, of course there is. When you're ready, we're going to have a look at this terminal. So your extraction debriefing. You've done well to get this far, Agent Jiang. Your payment has been transacted to your next of kin under the pretext of a ration lottery. With deepest regret, however, your life must now be terminated for the good of the People's Republic. Go with dignity, honourable soldier. So yeah, that's what fate awaited Agent Jiang, and then this opens up and starts flooding the place with radiation. So you've got a couple of options for how to deal with this. You can open the door with science, you can close the door, this vent here, to shut off the radiation, and then you can mess with the circuitry to open the door. If you haven't got the science of 71 that you need for that, then you have to climb your way out. So you can see this locker has been strategically placed here. You can basically do a bit of platforming and make your way up to the top of the room and escape that way. It's not the easiest thing to do. You know, platforming in these games isn't exactly the most straightforward thing. I say it's not easy to do, so it's good to have your 30 repair so that you can shut off the radiation so you don't die doing this. But you get up here and then you can open the hatch to the runoff pipe. And either escaping this way or using the door with your science skill. That means that you've completed the quest and you can ride off into the swamp with your shiny new rifle. There is also somebody else that had made it this far and then passed away, so that's a shame. Lots of glowing fungus here as well. So yeah, you make your way out through this pipe. You're going to have to swim a little bit, but that's fine. And now that we've achieved that, we have completed the quest. So that's it done, but you know, you get a good rifle out of it and a ton of ammo, which is always nice. So yeah, the backwater rifle is kind of 60% condition, and we're getting 45 damage, which is pretty good. It uses 10mm ammo. Damage per shot wise, the only one that's really better is Lincoln's repeater, but this one has the 5 times critical multiplier, which is really nice. to have. So that's you. You've completed a mission for the Chinese spies that's completely irrelevant now, but you've acquired a ton of useful stuff out of it, so can't really complain too much about that. And I think it's really interesting side quests, not just for the rewards and the loot and stuff, but also it's quite interesting to show us just how well established the Chinese spies and their kind of espionage and everything, how well established that was in the US before the bombs fell. You know, you find it in other places too, like Mama Dulce's, where there's still Gullified Chinese soldiers in there. And, you know, plenty of other places around the wasteland. So, you know, they were well established, and, you know, we had these double agents and things like that. And, you know, the kind of Cold War style dead drops and automated responses to success. So the fact that you blew up the sub, and then obviously there was some system that the Chinese had in their satellites that knew you'd done it, and then automatically, you know, gave you the next set of orders. Maybe they sent money to an account, you know, of Agent Zhang's family, who are probably long dead. Who knows what happened there, but you know, it just shows that, you know, the Chinese actually had made quite a lot of inroads into the US and their spying and things. And the quest title itself is a reference to the Cold War era, because the Iron Curtain was a term that was used to describe the kind of tight borders and the secrecy that was employed by the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc. And for East Asia, they called it the Bamboo Curtain. So the Velvet Curtain is kind of bringing that into it as well. And, you know, it's very reminiscent of the kind of terminology that was used around, you know, the Cold War and everything back in the day. So it's kind of an interesting one. And the idea for this quest came from Joe Burgess, who looked for ways to give interesting quests without you having to go and talk to NPCs or anything like that. You know, because you can, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, getting a quest, talking to an NPC and then them saying, oh, can you please go and rescue my husband from the super mutants or whatever, that's all fine and well and fun. But, you know, having a quest like this where you're exploring and you're learning as you go and finding things in the environment instead, it makes things interesting, and it means it really, this quest proves that quests like that can be done well, that it doesn't have to be someone coming up to you and saying you need to go and do this. It's possible to make engaging quests with interesting stories without voices, and, you know, that talking to NPCs and running back and forward to talk to NPCs can get a bit tedious. Looking at you, Preston Garvey, you know, that's the reason he became such a meme after Fallout 4 came out, because it just kind of got a bit silly after a while, especially when you would say, like, no, I'm not doing it, and Preston's like, fine, I'll be here when you get back from doing the thing. You can't even tell him to bugger off. You know, he's just like, well, I'll put it on your to-do list anyway, and you can do it when you feel like it. It's, you know, I can understand why people thought that was a bit silly, and it was definitely a bit frustrating at times because you couldn't go anywhere near where Preston was without him harassing you about things. So having the ability to have these quests where, you know, you have to use different approaches, and you have to think, okay, well, if I'm looking for these codes from this Chinese agent who's probably been dead for 200 years, how would I find out about that? And then you think, oh, well, there's the recruitment centre there for the Navy. Maybe they know something, and you can find out from there that Agent Yang was captured and taken to the detention camp. Or you could stumble across the detention camp and maybe remember, oh yeah, I saw that in the morgue there, I saw that name. So once you find out that's who you're looking for, you'd be like, oh well, I know where they are, and you can go there. And it lets you use a bit of reasoning and some problem solving skills and things like that. And, you know, sending you to the different places, and you can find what you need, and your curiosity is rewarded. You know, unique weapons and all that ammo, and, you know, stealth boys and all sorts of useful bits and pieces. So, you know, it feels worth it as well, and you know, you feel like you've actually earned something by doing the quest and you've been rewarded for it. And I think that's what makes a good quest in games like these. You know, sometimes the automatically generated, you know, quests, they get a bit boring and a bit samey after a while, and it's something certainly that I think Fallout 4 is quite guilty of, is, you know, the Radiant quests, and it's just like the same thing over and over again. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, there's lots of stuff to talk about in Point Lookout as well. I actually really like this DLC. There's just so much that goes on in it. So next week, I think we're going to spend a bit more time here at the Homestead Motel, because we only went into one room, but there's actually a few rooms that you can enter. Most of them do have lit lanterns outside, and then I think that was the office that we were at there. There's the dead mole rat. So there's a few of the motel rooms that you can get into, and there's some interesting little secrets hidden away in these places as well. So that is going to be the plan for next week. So hopefully you'll come back for that. And then on Saturday, we're starting a new Science Fallout series. We're going to be talking about the mutated humans of the wasteland, starting with ghouls, getting into the science of ghouls and the ecology and their physiology and everything. So that's going to be starting. I think for ghouls it might be a couple of parts to cover everything that we need to cover with the ghouls, because they're so common and there's a lot to them. There's a lot of things to talk about there, so we'll see how that goes, but that's going to be starting on Saturday, so hopefully you'll come back for that, and I will see you all next time. Bye.